Hi, welcome back to the ANS Way. This is part 5 of our series on our life journey. I think that's what we've stuck to in naming it.
So.
But keep the comments coming on suggestions on what we should have called this. Probably be too late when we're at episode 10 and decide to change it. Today's episode we're going to talk about marriage. When we decide to get married. Because if you haven't already, there's other episodes going right back from when we were children, really establishing kind of our thoughts, morals, our attitudes to school, finance, how
demonstrating two very different people that work well together, hopefully
most of the time. But we thought we'd cover when we got married, because in the last 2 episodes we kind of cover my transition whilst I was at uni and was working, and she allowing me to be at uni anyway, when we got our first flat. But during that period was when we got married, so we thought we'd share that story with you today.
Okay, where do we begin?
Let's begin with the fact that someone doesn't believe in marriage at all.
No, yeah, I don't. I'm not. As you can probably tell if you've watched any of the videos, I'm not really a traditionalist. I'm not a traditionalist at all, in any sense of the word. And if there is traditional things that I might consider, my brain immediately goes, no, do it the opposite way. So I'm not really a believer in marriage because it doesn't make any logical sense. The only purpose it seems to serve in the modern age is to ensure that somebody gets a cut of money they probably don't deserve. So I could never see the logic in getting married up until the point that we did.
Yeah, and I always knew this. So as we mentioned in our videos, we met each other at school, and I always knew when I first met Ant that he was anti-marriage. But also your parents didn't get married until way...
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember how old I was, but I'm going to guess 5.
Yeah.
5 or 6. Because thinking about the pictures, I'm a toddler. But my second brother was born, and he was also a toddler. I don't know what the toddler age range is, but he existed also. So if he was 2 or 3, I'm 3 years older, so I must have been 5 or 6.
Yeah, so that might have been part, like it wasn't.
Yeah, you could say that, but you could also. I haven't really followed any trends, so I'm not exactly sure it's related to that, but it could be, yeah.
Yeah. So I always knew from when we started going out that Ant was a non-believer of marriage, and I was actually okay with that, in the sense of I'm a typical female, in the sense of I probably grew up liking all the things like Disney, like girly things, and had that vision of getting married in my mind, just as you would, like it was very normal growing up. But then when I met Ant, he was so pragmatic about it, and also when he gave me his explanation as to why he didn't believe in it, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of see what you mean. I really didn't have a very good argument for why you would get married, so I don't think I ever once pressed it.
No, marriage is a farce in most cases, and considering especially where we are now, I think a higher percentage of people get divorced than stay together, which immediately, you only have to look at the numbers, that tells you it's a farce, and it's a very expensive farce for generally the person that earns more money. So there's a whole other explanation around it, but it just doesn't make sense. Even now it still doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say to anyone that marriage is a great thing and you have to do it. It didn't really make any real difference. But then you're wondering, how did we get married then? Why? If you're a non-traditionalist.
Do you know why?
Explain.
It's not for me to explain, it's for you to explain your understanding of why we ended up getting married, or why you think.
Why I think. It was a big surprise, I would say that, number one. So I had already, in my head, not expected to get married. It wasn't even something I was thinking about. I never once discussed it with Ant. Occasionally he would have the discussion with me about, so why would you get married, or what do you think you gain out of it, what's the benefits? I think the only thing I said was about the day, that special day that you have.
But what I would say with all ideologies that I hold, not only am I prepared for them to be tested, I test my own. This is why I get trapped in these 50 different ideas at once. I test my own ideologies constantly and consistently So I don't just set something, which is what most people do, because it's really comfortable to believe in something and just carry on and then defend it with everything you've got to protect your own self. I have a relatively large ego in the sense of how confident I am, but I don't really have an ego around my I don't really have an ego around my ideas. And the only thing I would say is, if you're going to challenge an idea, you're gonna have to come pretty strong with your rationale. You can't just go, I just believe in it. Well, that's never going to hold any weight.
And I didn't feel that strongly.
Yeah, so up until that point we'd had a couple of discussions around it, but we were fairly comfortable.
Yeah, so I honestly did not expect to be getting married at all. And what had happened, so I was at uni and finished, and I was just started my clinical, I started working at the hospital, and I'd passed uni, I'd got a first class degree, got a prize for the best dissertation as well, and we went out for a meal with his parents. But he was acting funny that day. It was all a bit funny because he had to go somewhere with his mum that day, and then it didn't add up. But then I honestly wasn't thinking that. Yeah, my mind wouldn't even go there. So we went out for a meal, and then during the meal he just plonked a bag on the table.
I think the words were, I'm offering you an opportunity of a lifetime. For me, I'm impulsive, and I'm impulsive on a decision change. So I'm not just going to run in and spend loads of money in whatever it is, but once I've made a decision, and even if that opposes the decision 10 seconds prior, I'm quite impulsive and I commit at that point in time and try and follow it through. So the thing she just mentioned, she just finished uni. Now, if you've watched our previous videos, you'll see this. If you haven't, go and watch them. Invest in people, invest in ideas, invest in yourself. So I had carried her through uni. We'd bought a home, we were living together. I mostly funded everything. That was my investment. At the point that she showed she has some value and worth, she did great at uni. Won the first class, won the dissertation prize for whatever it is in that group of universities. I'm like, well, all of those ideas I had about marriage, of some person comes out of it with a lot of cash if they're not the main earner, this is where it works for me. So you had to trap her immediately. No, it wasn't that at all. It's a good idea though, because it does trap you in. So if you ever leave, then get half.
It's true.
But no, it's a lot to do with, I think it will be 2 videos ago, around Selena had chosen to leave home, and it is a very, very tough decision. So even though I'm very matter of fact, I understood what that meant, and to make a choice to leave all the comforts of what she had and come and live with me. And it was a loss. It wasn't like we were both poor. It was a loss to her because she lost all of that. She lost a lot of time with her family for me, not because of me, because this was initiated and maintained by her family, but for me. So I felt the least I could do was at least give her a family that she belonged to. So potentially I saw some of the reasons why people got married at that point. If that set of events had not have happened, I would still not believe in marriage, because most people, they already have their families and it's fine. You could go in and out as you please. There's no additional benefits to getting married. Whereas in this case, there was an additional benefit for Selena to get married. Now, did it impact me? Not at all. Didn't, in terms of, did it change my views? Did it have an effect on my life? No, it added something, or I felt like it added something to Selena. So at least if we didn't maintain contact with her family, she then had a family that she could call her own. More on the whole family thing in another episode, but that's what it felt like to me. So we decided to get married.
Yeah, and it was a shock, because honestly I wasn't expecting it. So there was no matter how he would have proposed, it would have been a surprise anyway, because my mind just wasn't going there. And then even at the time, I just thought he was giving me a present for doing well at uni, so I thought it was just a nice gesture for that. So it was only when I saw the ring and I'm looking at his mum who was grinning away, then like I kind of pieced it together, because he didn't actually say about getting married at all.
No, I just said I'm offering you an opportunity.
Yeah, and then I kind of worked it out, and then I was a bit confused, but then I do remember you explaining afterwards about sometimes you do, if it doesn't affect you, sometimes you do things for other people.
Yeah.
Which I thought was very lovely and nice. So yeah, at that point we started planning the wedding that summer, and we ended up getting married the following
But there's
year.
some key parts to this. So you'll see in the previous video about the family thing. So at that point we still did not interact with your family.
No, and especially at that point I was barely interacting. It would be
A couple of times a month with that.
the odd message here and there, and then really not talking. And then
I held a lot of anger, and part of the reason, so I don't know how many years, it'd been quite a number of years at that point when we decided to get married, and I had to
I was 25 at the time, so I think I was 24.
24 or 25, yeah. And for me, I had to reconcile a lot of issues that I have in my own head with balancing the scales. So something, I hate to be wronged and not make the other person also feel wronged. So for me, I really had to get over that, and I can't remember how it happened, but I said, let's...
So yes, well, I'll back up a little bit. That was when we started planning the wedding for the following year, and I was still working at the hospital, and at that time I really wasn't talking much to my family at all. And then it was literally about 2 months before the wedding, I think, Aunt had suggested, like, just give it another shot, just say this is it, this is happening, are they willing to interact and make the effort, like they just see this is kind of like a last chance.
Yeah.
And then I think what had happened the first time was I think I drove down to where my parents live and just said, like, I'm coming to speak to them. I think that's
don't
what
remember that. I
happened.
remember the first interaction with your parents.
And then my mum was just very happy to see me, my dad, and then I think then we discussed them meeting Anton properly. My dad met Ant at the pub.
Yeah.
Then went to the house.
And then we went to the house,
and then we told them about the wedding. It was in Florida, near Tampa. Tarpon Springs.
Right near Tampa. It's the inner bay bit.
And they decided to come. They booked their flights. So it
was a very small,
around.
very, very small wedding, because I wanted to maintain full control and not have lots of people I didn't really know or didn't really want there. So I decided to do it in somewhere that we love, just take our families together. And that was a lot, because for me it felt like a pivotal moment in life at which...
And he wanted it intimate as well.
Yeah.
You know, some people just go for these huge, big weddings with hundreds of people when you don't really know them anyway, which is fine. Like, some people love that. They love to have a huge party. For us, we decided to have something very intimate, and Florida was because we did look at a number of places. I think we looked at Jamaica, a few countries, but Florida had been a place that we had gone on holiday for the first time, us two, and you'd loved us going with your family. And because we knew it, we essentially we had a wedding planner.
A wedding planner. We hired a house, or an estate, I guess. It was on its own plot on the lake with a boat. We didn't hire the boat as well because it was too expensive for us. But an amazing house that had a separate house attached, didn't it? Where your parents stayed.
An annex, yeah.
It was huge. It was
next to it had a little gym area in
snooker
there.
area. But it was actually really nice. And what was surprising for me is, for somebody that didn't believe or doesn't believe in marriage, it was actually a really, really nice day. I was surprised about how happy I felt. It wasn't a faked emotion, and for me, I'm emotional in my reactions to stuff, but I'm not an emotional person in I'm upset or sad about things or get extremely happy about mundane things. But I felt really happy on that day, which was surprising.
Yeah, and it was lovely. And another thing we should explain was we still didn't have a lot of money at all at that time. So when we were planning the wedding, I kid you not, I was saving 200. I worked out from my salary that I was getting from the NHS just how much after I could have paid all my bills, how much I could save towards the wedding, and it was £200 that I was saving.
Yeah.
And then I had a Barclay credit card as well, so I was saving £200 a month plus what I had on a credit card, and then obviously whatever you
Yeah, so I did a similar. So I think I was saving a set amount. I can't remember. I think we're both on fairly. You was on 24, 25, and I was on 26, 27,000. We'd already bought the apartment at that point, and we just sort of saved, and then I put some on a credit card, which isn't. I'm not advocating to do that. You should definitely not be putting stuff like that onto a credit card. It's silly. But it was a moment in time, I think, that needed to happen because we were just so separate in our lives. I know you're only interacting occasionally, but she had this whole life and whole family that I was not part of at all. So it was that moment really that needed to happen. Otherwise, it probably would never have happened at that point.
The day wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
I think it would. I'm so happy that happened in the end, and it was a pivotal moment in time because my parents were there. And from that day,
we get on great now. Everything. This is I put a little note in one of the videos. So when we're saying what had happened, this is what has happened in the past. This isn't what continues to happen today. And there, like you said, there's pivotal moments where you have to make decisions in life because you know there's a massive knock-on effect to that. And this applies in many, and you'll see in later videos of my family. Choices that you think are there, you're angry in the moment, or you think you're righteous in the moment, that's fine, but that moment might last for that moment, and everything that follows that could be really bad. If we would have carried on with that, Selena may never have seen her family. Nobody's going to be happy with that, really. So I'm not saying it was me being the bigger person in that case, because I know they did attempt to reach out a couple of times, but I wasn't ready. I was too angry about the whole situation. So they had actually tried to make amends. I wasn't ready, and then I kind of had to swallow all of that and put that behind me and just try and go from that point forward, and it's worked out great.
Yeah, and it was a lovely day. It was funny because we didn't have this huge budget for a wedding. Like some people spend like 10, 20, 50 grand, 100 grand on a wedding. We definitely didn't have that sort of money. I remember even looking for wedding dresses, and off the rack is not a thing. I realised that people do. You get your dress made for you. That was not an option for me. I had to get something off the rack because there is no way I had the money to afford a dress that was going to be made especially for me. But that's nice. Very good value.
Nice. I'll see if I can find some photos and put them in. But yeah, it was a great day. It definitely changed the course of our lives and how we interact with people and how our families interacted just by having that wedding. So probably meant slightly more and slightly different things getting married for us as it would do to other people that just do it as part of the course, in the same way that we talk about university. They just do it because I thought that's what we do. They don't actually consider what it means for them. It's just something they're supposed to do. Hence divorce rates.
And one thing I would say about the marriage that we said at the beginning, like Ant said, he doesn't believe in marriage, and I wouldn't necessarily say to people that you have to get married, it makes a big deal. But one thing I did notice at the time, after we got married, I transitioned out of the NHS and started working for a private company, a medtech company at that time, and I started travelling. So that was the start of me being out on my own, travelling, getting on planes. And one thing I did notice is you are seen different as a female if you are married. Now, that's not right, I don't agree with it, but I noticed instantly the difference
between saying I've got a boyfriend and I've got a husband.
Yeah, hugely different. Just the way people treat you, if you have an interaction with males, if you have a boyfriend, it's clearly not serious, let's just continue talking. The brazen ones carry on anyway, but most part, if they're married, it's like, okay, they'll back off, they'll just leave you. So I definitely saw a difference as a female in their getting married.
I think that's our
story on how we got married.
Marriage story.
Hope you enjoyed it, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe. We are so close to hitting our subscriber count that we need, and so your subscriptions really do help. Do not forget to like and comment below and tell us what you think about our story. Do you believe in marriage?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Do you believe in marriage, or are you just going to do it because?
And if you do just do it because, what was the because? Thanks for watching.